Woo!
Let's do this.
It's super funny, but I'm being serious.
From Indianapolis, it's the Chris Hammer Show.
I am the smartest man alive!
Hello everyone, I'm Chris Hammer and you're listening to the Chris Hammer Show. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest, Senator Mike Braun. Welcome.
Good to be here.
So, Senator, following the tragic killing of the Elwood police officer, you have been restating your support for the Thin Blue Line Act. Can you tell us what that is and why you support it?
Well, in general, if we do not start supporting law enforcement, when you look at all the incidents occur across the country, let alone what happens here in our own state, this simply takes it to where there's a federal law that if you attack a federal officer, you're going to get the most stringent sentence that can be delivered. This bill would say the same thing for any local or state law enforcement officer. We've got to start doing things that show that we appreciate the job, or you're going to have no one coming into the profession. And any of this crazy talk about defunding police and doing things like we've been listening to over the last several years, I think has to be turned around, and you've got to have bills like this that show that we mean it.
When it comes to things in Washington, one thing that you did not support was the Inflation Reduction Bill. President Biden has been doing a victory lap on the passing of this bill. You, on the other hand, voted against it. Can you tell us why you didn't support this bill?
Well, I ran a business for 37 years, and I am one of the few senators that's got the kind of foundation of that, along with understanding what causes inflation. And what causes inflation is when government starts stepping in like it did through COVID, shutting down the productive side of the economy and then dumping in all this money. And the federal government should be the last place that we want to do more through when it can't even get close to balancing its budget currently. So it was easy for me. This is going to aggravate inflation, not make it better. And it was kind of a smokescreen to get through some wish list items that the Democrats have always talked about that most of the rest of the country isn't interested in, especially even though they claim we won't be borrowing the money. That's what we do most often. They do have things in there that say they're going to pay for it, but it's got the typical DC gimmicks. Most of the pay-fors, most of the revenue generation comes years 6 through 10. Most of the spending happens right out of the gate.
Bringing things back to the home front here in Indiana, you are making the grand tour of Indiana, if you will, visiting all 92 counties in the state. How has that been going, and what has the response from everyone been of that?
You know, I pledged when I was running that if I got elected, I'd visit all 92 counties because I come from an area, the southern part of the state, it's got a lot of the small counties. Many of them never see a U.S. senator. Their voice is just as important as the places that normally get the attention. So that was the reason I did it in the first place, and what I get out of it is I'm listening. I'm talking to businesses, school systems, the whole gamut of who feeds into our Hoosier state and that looks for our state to take care of what they're interested in as well and doing it responsibly. So the travel enables me to hear what the real issues are, and it's not what you hear embodied in this so-called Inflation Reduction Act. It's like workforce. Pre-COVID, that was a big issue. Affordable housing. Rural broadband, we're a rural state, high cost of health care, things like that. And what are you doing about the southern border where it's now willy-nilly, anybody can come across? What about crime in our big cities? And that is applicable even to here in Marion County.
We're speaking with Indiana U.S. Senator Mike Braun. So far, what would you say is the biggest issue that the people in Indiana have told you on your visit to all the counties?
So Indiana is the biggest manufacturing state per capita. I mentioned a little bit earlier, they're really having trouble. My wife has had her own business since we moved back to Jasper in the late 70s, and it's small, medium, and large, trying to get people to come work in their enterprises. And I think what the federal government did was created incentives. When you look at how good things were working pre-COVID. Sure, we had areas that we needed to attend to, but at least there was a work ethic, there was a labor participation rate, and we were raising wages in some of the toughest spots. So that's what I hear mostly. And when you're on these tangent subjects, like you hear all the time out there that they're talking about on the other side of the aisle, we need to call them out on it. It gets back to the basics. Most families want to make sure their well-being is taken care of, their kids are educated well, and have access to a good job.
So if people want to get in contact with you during your visit or find out when you are coming to their county, how can they contact you?
Just go to my website. It's easy. Mike Braun at senate.gov. Look it up. You can find me easily. Just Google it, and we've got an excellent team. When I did get elected, I said I wanted my constituent service to be as good as my customer service was for the 37 years I ran a business. Any issue you might have where you have an entanglement with the federal government, call our Indiana office. If you're interested in legislation, you can still call the Indiana office and they'll get in contact with our legislative staff. And remember, I'm accessible. I visit all 92 counties, and you can come visit me on a Friday. I'm generally in my office in Jasper. I don't know that there's a senator that offers that predictably one day out of the week. I do.
Senator Mike Braun, thank you for coming on with us today.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
The Chris Hammer Show.